Hello, everyone. Welcome to Football Worldwide. Welcome to another episode of Everything EPL, your one stop for the latest action from the Premier League. Oli is sacked finally. I think Man United fans now can breathe better that he's sacked. I think now they have a chance of saving the season. Another win in the bag for the big three: Liverpool, City, Chelsea. Easy wins, even though one of them was against Arsenal, the second was against Leicester, and the third was against Everton. And you would never think that these three wins would be that easy, especially the one against Arsenal. And I have here to my left, Kaeman, my friend. How are you?
It's been a painful weekend.
Jackson, how are you feeling today, my buddy?
I'm feeling great. It's a good day to be a Chelsea supporter.
And Nick, a debut for Nick here, a Liverpool fan who's flying. My guy, Nick, how are you?
I'm great. We're upwards on the table.
Yeah, I just want to make a note that it's really important to have Nick on the show because I just can't talk about the Arsenal game.
I certainly can.
We'll jump in right away, guys. So he's sacked. He's gone. Before we go into Man United and all the problems they have, we want to get a shout out to Watford, actually, who had a brilliant game, and Claudio Ranieri, who I think he managed 3 games now. They won 2. This is after the thrashing in the first game against Liverpool. So I think Watford deserve a lot of credit, and I know that a lot of Watford fans will say that nobody gives us credit. Everybody talks about Man United and Maguire getting sent off, but to be honest with you, that first half was an absolute dominance of a performance from Watford. They put Man United under pressure. They crossed the ball. They played from the middle. They closed all the spaces. Bruno Fernandes did not have a chance to move forward. Cristiano Ronaldo did not get a sniff. And I'm going to start with Kaeman about Watford and the game and Man United. And the first thing is, how should De Gea feel?
Just so upset. I mean, I thought he had a fantastic game for the most part, and just everyone on the field letting him down, you know? I mean, maybe he'll be a little bit happy going out of it, knowing that there might be an actual game plan to their games going forward with anyone else in management. But, yeah, dude, it was a tough one for him. I don't know. Nick, did you have any thoughts? If you were De Gea, how are you feeling?
I think he just needs a confident back line to be the confident all-around keeper he's known to be. He's definitely making the saves. It's just kind of hard to have such a consistent lack of clean sheets and keep your confidence up as a keeper. So they need a good manager to back their back line.
Yes, so Jackson, I'm going to move to Jackson and ask him a couple of questions about this. All these players, most of these players in United squad, they perform very good on the international stage. Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes, Cristiano, everybody. So clearly there is 2 scenarios here. It's either they wanted the manager out, which is, I doubt that these players, most of them wanted the manager out, or they actually, as Nick said, they go to the games without any plan and nobody knows where to be and what to do. So which one do you think is the correct statement here?
It honestly might be a mix of both, because I think a lot of it is you see the United players, they seem tense, like who's really coming to the ball, who's making those driving, darting runs. It's like everyone's kind of scared to have the ball because they don't want to be the ones to mess up. I feel like they have so much pressure on them that a game where, most people would say that they should take an easy 3 points from Watford, they start to fumble the bag just because of that pressure. They get in their heads, a couple things don't go their way. And then if they did have any kind of plan, it starts to unravel once there's, kind of that just unforeseen gameplay pressure coming from Watford. So I guess, yeah, just to sum it up, I think a lot of it just comes down to pressure and maybe the state of mind from a lot of the United players.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about here is the only positive thing that we saw in this game. Van de Beek came to the game and he actually played really well, and he changed the way they play, Man United. And so why was he not getting a look? Is that because of the cliche thing about you're not good enough for the Premier League, which is something I said that a lot before, but maybe I was wrong. Kaeman, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know. If he's not good enough for the Premier League, what league is Scott McTominay playing in? You know what I mean? Like it's to me, it's just something where like sometimes at clubs the manager and the player don't mesh, and you're just not part of their vision. You know what I mean? So I think that was just the unfortunate scenario he found himself in, where management probably wanted him and Ole didn't. But yeah, no, I think he's a great player, and I think if anything, maybe this revitalizes his potential Manchester United career, because I know there's a lot of talks about him getting transferred in January to other clubs.
Yeah, I know that Inter Milan were talking about getting him on loan to get him off the books from Man United, but I don't see that happening with a new manager because everybody will try to get a chance. Nick, who's the most fit coach to come into the United dressing room? This packed dressing room with a lot of ego there and a lot of big players. Who do you think will fit that well?
If you're talking a team of personalities like United, I would think right off the bat Zidane, but is he even looking to be in management in England right now? And they're in a unique position, Manchester United, where they've timed this dismissal of Ole completely wrong. I feel like they should have done it. I mean, as a Liverpool fan, I'm glad they've held out as long as they did. I wish he stayed, but just football-wise, they should have let him go a while ago because just so many confusing results, and to just, I don't know, some players just being lost on a bench like Van de Beek. It's kind of poetic. He scored in the last game, but his standing will really be seen in this interim manager or permanent manager change coming up. You can't really tell.
Yeah, because a couple weeks ago we're all just saying that Conte is going to be the next manager, right?
Yeah. So Jackson, the big thing is Brendan Rodgers, and you guys, Chelsea, you just played Leicester and they looked absolutely horrific on the field. They had no plan, forward or defense. You dismantled their defense by a couple of passes. And so why do people think that Brendan Rodgers will be a good fit to Man United? Is the guy is having a better squad than last season and they are in the decline?
I feel like it's almost, if you're like Manchester United, it's almost like anyone will do. You can't, and even if it's not your first choice, like United kind of made it clear that they wanted Conte, and obviously they didn't get him. You need to have some confidence in your manager, or look that have like a forward looking view, be like, look, we're excited to have him. He's going to come and change the club. Because I think we might have talked about this last week, but with when Nuno was at Spurs, it was clear that he was nowhere near the first choice manager, and that probably resonated with the players, and it doesn't really give them faith in the new manager. So I think if they're looking for Brendan Rodgers, then they just need to, if that's who they want to go with, they need to be confident right off the bat and say that he's their guy.
Yeah, because it's not a trial and error. But Kaeman, Harry Maguire, absolute horrific game, red card, after his silencing the fans who scored internationally against Albania. And I know that everybody laughed at that and like, I'm not, someone said that before to me, that if Harry Maguire is not worth, and we said that last week, is not 87 million pounds or 87 million euros, we would not have been sitting here and expecting that much from him. It would have been, because if Lindelof makes a mistake, everybody's like, it's Lindelof. He's an average player. I think Harry Maguire is an average center back.
Agreed.
He doesn't have a leadership. I think Gary Neville said that in the England national team, he actually does not lead the team. He does not talk a lot. He needs people to talk to him all game. So why is he captain? I don't understand. But do you think a manager will improve Harry Maguire to be that good, or he's not that great?
I mean, I think if you're playing next to some quality like their other center back, you know what I mean? Baran, like he can lead you. And I think the problem that you have is that Harry Maguire is a fine center back, but like he's not positionally amazing. And then you put him next to someone like Luke Shaw, who is maybe the worst defensive left back in the league. like things happen. You know what I mean? You put someone like that in ISO, he's going to get torn apart. And like you said, if he's not like 80 something million dollars on the signing, the $76 million man, then we're nobody's getting like extremely mad about his performances. So it's one of those things where players are like overvalued. It's like a Pepe for Arsenal. Like if we didn't pay as much money as we paid for him, he's done all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just where modern football is heading, where we're just like paying all these inflated prices. But that being said, I think that they can find a way to make him have an important role for Manchester United. I do think Luke Shaw might have to take a back seat if that's the case, though.
The problem is Luke Shaw is very good going forward, and everybody can see this, but he's not. That's why I think Luke Shaw will really suit someone like Conte. It would have been really good to play Luke Shaw as a wing back, but now they missed on him, and this is something else. I want to move on from Man United, even though it's so fun to talk about them at the moment because all the headlines are about them. But one last question for Jackson and Nick. Is this season savable for Man United? And what is going to be a good season for them? Is it top 4 or top 6? I'm going to start with Jackson.
By savable, do you mean like title race for them?
There is no title race. Let's just agree on that.
Yeah, okay, there we go. I just needed to clear that up. Savable, I think so. I think their goal is definitely going to be top 4, especially when they assign a new manager. That's going to be the number one thing for them. They're probably going to say top 4. Can they do it? Maybe. I'm going to say no. I do think that they'll get top 6, but top 4 will be very tough with some of the teams that are fighting for that 4th spot.
Nick, can you add something to that?
I think they're fighting for 5th or 6th place. I don't think they're making Champions League football next season.
It's kind of harsh. It's going to be harsh on their financials, though. It's going to be very, very harsh on.
Man, I think y'all are crazy, dude. Barring they get a competent manager, there is so much quality on that side. Like they have to be competing for top 4.
Well, let me say that. Well, I know they're going to compete for it. I think their best chance this will never happen is to just bench Maguire or completely get rid of him, but that won't happen. I think United needs to just be like, okay, we spent a lot of money on this investment. It did not work out in the slightest. Time for new plans. But I mean, they're good. Like I said, they're going to be fighting for top 4 for sure. It's just whether or not they get it.
I think. Clovis has joined in on the show.
Yep.
No, but like sorry for dragging on this. If you get a quality appointment in the middle of the park, who can play like this defensive stopgap so that you can have Pogba kind of roam a little bit more, kind of like what we see in France with Conte and Pogba, and you get a quality manager, like they're competing for top 4. It's that simple. You know what I mean?
But you need to invest. But that's the thing. You need to invest. We're talking about the team that they have now. If any manager comes in, what is he going to do with the squad? Is he going to play McTominay? Going to play Fred, Matic in the middle of the park? It's not going to work. As Jackson said, the squad that they have now, it doesn't matter who you bring. He needs to make dramatic changes to this squad to make it happen for them. They're going to compete for top 4, yes. Are they favorite to make top 4? I don't think so. I think West Ham has a better chance of making top 4. I think Antonio Conte is going to fix... I'm coming from the other side, that I said that before. He's going to fix Tottenham. He's going to fix their style of play. It's going to take time, but it's going to fix their style of play. And it depends who they're going to get, to be honest. I'm going to move on to Anfield. I'm going to start with Nick. Hey, a dominant performance from Liverpool. I thought Arsenal, as Kaeman told me on the private chat between me and him, he's like, we had a chance before the second goal. I didn't have this feeling. To be honest, I'm going to ask Nick, were you worried at any minute of this game that you're not going to get the 3 points?
Not exactly, no. I will say after going back and watching some of the match, it was on edge at some point. And I will say Arsenal, if I was to describe it, it was almost like pragmatic in the way that they defended. It felt almost like, this is not meant to be a dig, it was like pragmatic, like bus parking.
No, it doesn't need to be. Yeah.
Like, they had to dig in and defend to deal with Mane, for example. And he was a menace, even though he didn't have the best start to the match. It was interesting to say the least.
The expected goal for Arsenal was 0.32 and for Liverpool is 3.34. But anyway, Kaeman, I was on a chat after the game on Twitter, and someone said that we forgot how bad Arsenal were against Brentford. I think. No. Against somebody, you guys got away with a lot of stuff. Like against Crystal Palace, you did not deserve the point. I guess at that game. I think there was another game. They said that Arsenal did not actually perform well until this moment. And Arteta cannot manage games, and we have not seen Arteta manage games. I know that me and you were talking about moving forward, and Arteta is building something.
Mhm.
But can he do it again? Is that back to reality, Arsenal?
Man, I think this was a humbling defeat, and I think it sets context that, like, I think people are getting carried away. I mean, we're obviously not a team that's going to be able to compete every single day against Liverpool right now. But to say that, like, there hasn't been progress and that we haven't been doing well, especially with how well we finished the season last year, to me, it's just, typical Arteta out, Arsenal fans being the same as they typically are, right? We've just got like half of the fan base who just wants them out as soon as we lose or as soon as we're not winning. And to go on a 10-game unbeaten streak is just impressive, especially with how young the squad is. And I think, honestly, the Liverpool defeat really showed the age of the squad. I mean, you look at Sambi in the second half, like it was a nightmare first 5-10 minutes of him just giving the ball away until he had to be subbed out, right? And
Tavares.
and then Tavares, yeah, and he actually won like 80% of his duels against Salah, which is it's impressive. But then you look at the fact that he, on a dribble, gives the ball away, doesn't track his man to the box, causes another goal, and it's like, but it's showing the age of some of these players, right? And maybe we kind of got away from ourselves, like, oh wow, they can really compete right now, and it's like, well, this is a 19-year-old kid, and Sambi is coming from the Belgian league. Like, these are players who haven't fully adapted yet. They're not at the level we need them to be competing with the team like Liverpool. And it just adds perspective. Like, Arsenal's absolutely outclassed. But the reason why I said it wasn't necessarily 100% going Liverpool's way until that second half and that second goal was because the first half, Arsenal had a chance at the beginning of the second half. They actually had a decent little through ball from Emile Smith-Rowe that required an amazing save from Van Dijk on the blind turn. So, like, Arsenal had moments, and even if they didn't have nearly as many moments as Liverpool, like, it wasn't like they were just had no way of getting back in the game and clawing a tie or a win. But then once that second goal happens, I mean, things change. They're trying to chase the game, and Liverpool just destroyed us. It was so painful to watch after a while. But yeah, I mean, it's good in the learning context, I think, for that team to show, like, this is what top sides are about, and this is what'll happen if you make these mistakes.
It shows that Arsenal lost 4-0, but then Ramsdale came out, I think, the best player on the field. It shows you how much Liverpool attack is ruthless and they're going for it. If it was not for Ramsdale, you would have been beating like the first half 3-4.
Yeah,
So Jackson, I'm gonna, regarding this game, but actually without moving on to the Chelsea game against Leicester, Jackson, do you think Liverpool are favorite for the titles, or you still think that Chelsea are the closest, or it's Man City? Based on the Liverpool performance against, let's consider Arsenal in the big six, right? You demolish Arsenal like this, and then Man United before that. It's a big statement from Liverpool to everybody else. So what do you think about that from a Chelsea fan perspective?
Yeah, from a Chelsea fan perspective, I mean, Liverpool are definitely a big threat. They're definitely in the title race. Would I call them a favorite? I don't think so. I think they're definitely going to give Chelsea and Man City a run for the money. It's definitely going to make the title race very interesting. But right now, when push comes to shove, I think I'm going to give that to Chelsea and or Man City. It's not so much anything against Liverpool as it is just where Man City and Chelsea are at right now. For me, again, like, that might be a little biased. Maz and I always have our debates of Chelsea versus Liverpool. But yeah, it'll be close, but I would still give it to Chelsea and Man City, because right now what you have with all three of those teams right now is they know their system so well, and it's working so well for them, and it's so hard for other teams to come in and try to combat that.
The only thing I wanted to move into the Leicester Chelsea game, I think this is the second or third game this season where I felt watching Chelsea that the game was easy and they were always going to get the 3 points. Leicester, I'm not sure if it was Leicester's way of playing. They set up very defensively from the first minute. They tried to play direct to Jamie Vardy, who was pocketed by another big performance from Thiago Silva and Chalobah. It was that Chelsea went to this game really prepared, and Leicester went to the game trying to react to what Chelsea is going to do. And this is something that I have not seen from Chelsea all season. And if you go to any social media, you'll see that Chelsea fans actually think that this is their best performance this season. What do you think about that? Like, Conte outperformed everybody on the field. He was 2 guys on the field. Jorginho actually played really, really well and controlled the midfield. So everywhere there was a player shining. Even Kai Havertz, I thought he was absolutely phenomenal to replace Timo Werner and Lukaku up top. Thiago Silva in the back. Mendy pulled out a couple of saves. They were really great second half. And from that perspective, I get your point, but that doesn't happen often with Chelsea.
I think with Chelsea, and also I'm going to have a bit of an interesting take. I think part of the reason we were so dominant in that last game is I believe it was the first 15 minutes, Leicester didn't capitalize on a lot of Chelsea mistakes. I thought defensively, the whole game, I thought Chelsea was great. Offensively, in the first 15 minutes, I think there was a few loose passes and some offensive mistakes where if Leicester were really on their game, they could have came back and possibly punished Chelsea, but they didn't. They let Chelsea settle into the game. And I think then from there, it was all Chelsea's way. But I think that feeling that you were talking about, how, you don't always feel like Chelsea deserves the 3 points, is because a lot of times Chelsea's finishing just isn't good. Chelsea creates an insane amount of chances. They usually are right up there leading the league with amount of chances, like big chances created or shots taken, but we don't always have that finisher to come in and put those chances to bed. Now, this past season, you're seeing so many goals from all over the field. I think 43% of the Prem goals this season came from defenders, which is great to see, but it's also very interesting. So now that they're kind of fitting into that system and realizing, that just goals can come from anywhere, that's where I think that's giving some confidence to Chelsea. But to your point, I do know what you mean. I think that's just because Chelsea doesn't finish as many chances as they should.
Nick, where do Leicester go from here? It's kind of a strange season for them. They have not performed. I'm not sure. I think they have not won in the last 4 games or something like this. They lost to Arsenal, they drew Leeds United, and now they lost to Chelsea. I know they're tough games, but again, Leicester City on paper, they're supposed to have the 5th best squad in the league. Where do they go from here? What's their goal? Why they're not getting chances from your point of view?
I think I'm going to speak of their midfield, but the exception to it is Tielemans, because I think Tielemans is a great player, and I don't think he has any of their issues. I just think that they've honestly lacked a good connect in their midfield to their forwards, and like James Maddison was such a big player for them these past couple of years in the Premier League, and you just don't even hear his name really anymore for their side. I mean, I think he's a squad player now, a bench player, not even starting for them. And you have Vardy as well, who's getting up there in age. He's obviously still putting up numbers and he's a threat, but their squad's in like different positions. They have some aging and some youngsters at the same time. And I don't know, the rumors behind Brendan Rodgers, I thought that they were just kind of like, I thought they were rubbish. He kind of like put him out immediately because he's got a job there, because the way that they're performing, I think they're going downwards in the table.
They are. Kaeman, We're gonna move on from Leicester and Chelsea because I think this game was so straightforward for Chelsea. I'm gonna go to another straightforward game that was. It's I tried to watch this game and it's just and it comes back to my point. If you're neutral, it's not boring, but it's like it's an expected result. You know, we lack sometimes when Manchester City play, you before the game you lack that excitement about going to the game, not knowing what's going to happen. And this game, I knew exactly what's going to happen, and it happened, and the game finished 3-0, and it was just open the TV or go to the stadium. You know your team is going to win. They won. Done. Let's go home and enjoy this win. But did you see? Can you add anything to us about Man City other than they are just ruthless going forward? They control ball position. It doesn't matter who you play. If it's Raheem Sterling, if it's Jack Grealish, if it's the youngster Palmer, they just do whatever job that Guardiola tells them to do, and it just works.
Few things from the game. One of which being, I think Laporte was kind of disappointing. I think that yellow card he got on Townsend was pretty sloppy, and it could have been really dangerous. I think Cole Palmer was pretty impressive, considering he played the entire game for how young he is and how even younger he looks than that. I mean, the dude looks like he's like 13 years old out there. But no, he was impressive. It was pretty dominant for the most part. I mean, you saw how frustrated Richarlison was out there trying to get the ball. It's a mix of Everton not being great right now.
But they're so bad. They haven't won in 6 games. They had 2 draws and 4 losses. They're so bad.
Which is funny to say because at the beginning of the season, Mo, me and you were saying, wow, Everton's looking pretty good right now. Like, Demarai Gray is flying, you know what I mean? And I was really impressed with Townsend, some of the rockets he'd been scoring on counters, you know? But it just like when your game plan is to counterattack against City, it's just such a dice roll, and most of the time it doesn't work out, and you get dominated.
Especially if you can't hold on to the score for a long time.
Yeah.
Like we held for the first half, but then second half it was just boom, gone.
Yeah, it's like also I got to say I was very impressed with Cancelo again.
Oh yeah, the guy's brilliant.
Proves to be the best outside back in the league. Don't know me.
Offensively, yes. But to be honest, there was one play that I think Iwobi was going forward, and he saw that Kyle Walker is the one who's recovering, and he decided, you know what, I'm not gonna go for this. It's not even worth. And I'm like, okay, at this point, if Kyle Walker is 30-something years old and he still runs that much, I know people talk about Alexander-Arnold, people talk about Cancelo, they talk about Reece James and all this stuff, but there is no defender in the league that is better.
Yeah. No one has better recovery pass. Better recovery pace than Kyle Walker. Yeah, for sure. When he brings
opposite to Luke Shaw, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but that's what you look at when he plays in the England squad. He does the exact same thing too. I mean, there's times where he's just playing the sweeper, you know.
Yeah. Jackson, do you think Rafa Benitez is in danger at all? Why nobody talks about Rafael Benitez being absolutely horrendous in the last 6 games?
Yeah, I was thinking that as well, because especially with the current environment that's been made in the Prem, like we saw a couple weeks ago, right before international break, with all these managers getting fired, Rafa's name has to be coming up right around the corner, right? I mean,
but he's not. This is strange, right? Why he's protected that much? Same as Bielsa, you know, like. But Bielsa, I'm sorry, Leeds United is the lowest wage in the league, right? I think the second or the lowest. So that's expected. So Bielsa's name, fine, is not coming up. But Rafa Benitez with these superstars who play for national teams, why he's not?
To be honest, I can't really give you an answer. Maybe it's just because they, you know, like Kaeman just said, they had a good start to the season, and people are still kind of living off that and being like, oh, you know, maybe you got a little unlucky. After watching today's game, I don't know. I wouldn't call it unlucky. You know, it's just there's nothing there. There is nothing going on. So I honestly don't have an answer.
Nick,
I do have to say the injury to Calvin Lewin has been doing a whole lot, and then not having Demarai Gray in there as well because of injury was also really bad for their squad. Because no offense to Iwobi, but he doesn't bring you what Demarai Gray is going to bring you on that side.
He doesn't. Nick wanted to add something.
I mean, regarding Rafa, I think he's bigger than the club that he's managing. So how do you really get rid of him when, I mean, who are you going to replace him with in the first place?
He managed Newcastle. So
I
how is he bigger than Everton? He managed Newcastle, and I'm not saying that Newcastle is bigger or
well, I just
smaller
think,
than
well,
Everton. I know.
I just think him taking the job is just weird in general after being a previous Liverpool manager. And I mean, I wish him the best, but I think he's in a position where who are they going to replace him with? Honestly, like the Premier League is, they have a handful of clubs right now that are like emergency board meetings. We're going to get rid of our managers, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Everton, I thought these past couple of seasons that they were strengthening their squad, and Rafa was a great appointment. But 6 games with bad results, like you just said, is quite shocking. Something has to be said about it.
Yeah, something has to be done, right? Like you can't continue. You can't get sucked into a relegation battle when we're still it's in December, right? Like
It's
if he
early.
lose 3 or 4 games and Burnley get a couple of points, now you are 3 points off the drifting from. So it's just not gonna work for them.
Do you see what we've turned into? We are the table of owners of Watford right now. Everyone's like, we just got to sack him. Just sack him. Why don't we sack him already? That's what this season has turned everybody into.
Yeah, Antonio Conte got his first win in the Premier League, and I'm gonna start with Nick. Yeah, Leeds started really well in the game. If you watch the game, they were absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous in terms of running, pressing, not allowing Spurs a shot on target in the first half. Spurs had 2 shots, none on target first half. But here comes the good manager, and that's what I was talking about, Antonio Conte. Second half, turns the table, moves Kane 20 yards up the field to create a lot of trouble in Leeds' defense. So, Nick, is he gonna get them top 4, or is he gonna get them challenging for top 4, Antonio Conte?
I think they will be in a battle for top 4. I think given West Ham's start to the season, and how big of a mix there is in the top 6 right now, I think if he can get them together and get Harry Kane firing, especially, they definitely need him scoring some goals. They can get it together and maybe fight for top 4, maybe make top 4. But I will say Jack Harrison and Leeds, they were ruthless in that first half. And I was kind of sad to see them kind of crumble in the second half as they did. It was really quick change, and it might be a pattern. I haven't like continuously watched Leeds this season, but their playing style, it is so rapid and so quick early on, and their press is pretty good, and they make chances. But you see Tottenham actually catching out a 2-goal recovery, and that's impressive as well. So
To be honest with you, they are playing without 4 starters for their team, right? Like, or 5.
yeah,
Like Rafinha, like Rafinha is the most important one of them.
absolutely.
Bamford.
Yes, the 4, and it's a lot of Luke Ayling. It's just a lot of absentees there. But again, the way you press that half, you will need a lot of energy that I don't think anybody can sustain that much of a running for 90 minutes, and which is everybody said that before, that you can't do that for 90 minutes. But I'm gonna go back to Jackson and Antonio Conte and being a Chelsea. So I'm an Inter fan, so I'm called an ex-Conte team, and you're an ex-Conte team, and it show it how much the fans will love Antonio Conte after this performance, and after him like clapping to the fans and hugging everybody after the game. And I know that this is kind of like cliche with Jurgen Klopp doing this, and Nick knows this. Oh my God, I'm like the guy who stays on the field after the game. Do you think that it's going to be affectionate between the Spurs fan and Conte?
If he can get a few more results like this, absolutely. Because if you're a Tottenham fan today, you're very happy, because like you're saying, Leeds were killing it in the first half. It wasn't looking so good for Spurs at all. Like there was no real creativity. Go into the locker room at half, come back. It looks like an entirely different team. Conte's loving every second of it. He's getting the fans hyped up, and then you can just see the raw emotion right when the final whistle blew and he got that win. So that's incredibly positive. That's going to be very positive for the fans to see, and that's going to, really just bolster that support for the club. So, yeah, absolutely. I think he'll really get the fans on his side if one for today, and two if he can do that a few more times coming up.
Kaeman called last episode. Kaeman said that the most important game of the week is Newcastle Brentford, and I couldn't I had the games on. I had 4 games on from that 3 o'clock game, and I couldn't take my eyes off Newcastle and Brentford every time. It's a shame that I did not have the Burnley Crystal Palace game, because actually that game, we're going to talk about it, had the most shots I have seen for a while on target. It has 17 shots on target, Burnley and Crystal Palace. But this Newcastle and Brentford game, it was just end-to-end game, non-stop running from both teams, as both teams forgot how to defend and they just wanted to win, both of them. How important is that point for Brentford, Kaeman, to keep Newcastle down there? And by the way, Newcastle is the bottom of the league for the first time after Norwich won against Southampton, and they are ahead of them.
I mean, I think obviously Brentford they've built such a good early lead already to keep themselves from getting relegated that I think any point's just good. You know what I mean? It just keeps the distance between them and the bottom. That being said, I think getting a point out of this for Newcastle is huge, especially since it was a comeback off of that deflection that happened for Brentford's third goal. I think there's signs of life in that Newcastle attack. And, it's a positive note to start with their new manager. So I think it helps the Newcastle fans get behind them. Because if Newcastle comes into this game and they just get beat by Brentford, then, I mean, they're still just in a downward spiral, right? So, at least there's something to build off of here. And there was, key positive moments. And with their lineup, I thought was, a lot more optimistic than we've seen in a while. You know what I mean? You have Joe Willock playing next to John Joe Shelby, but Willock's being able to advance, and John Joe Shelby's playing a makeshift Pirlo. But he's playing your deep line playmaker. You know what I mean? So you have all this positivity, and you have guys like St. Maximin making just fantastic creative runs, scoring. It was really fun to watch. Honestly, and that's not taking anything away from Brentford, but I mean, if you look at the charts for who is expected to score the most throughout the game, you can see that Newcastle really had the second half for the most part.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Guys, Burnley Crystal Palace, it was 17 shots on target, but again, we said it last week. Burnley scored from 3 crosses, guys. Okay, I'll bite that Cornet goal. The last volley from Cornet was absolutely phenomenal. It's the goal of the week. I think it's going to be the goal of the month for sure, even though I know Salah's there and he might come up with something crazy later. Who knows? But this game, both teams showed a lot of resilience in terms of playing, and Burnley showed that they can do it and they can get points and they can fight back. Jackson, I'm going to start with you. And again, it's Burnley. Crystal Palace, we know they're playing really, really, really progressive football moving forward. But Burnley, can they sustain this all the time, just scoring? I think that they're the team that scored the least goals from open play.
Yeah, I don't think they can sustain it, honestly. I will say it was a great result for them against a team like Palace right now, and they were also down twice during that match.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah, so I think that was great for them. But like you said, they don't score that much in open play. So when I was checking the scores, because I was watching the other games, I saw when Palace took the lead for the second time, I'm like, oh, surely that's game over. I don't think Burnley has it in them. To their credit, they came back and did it. But when I look at their team, I don't really know where a lot of the playmaking will come from, who's going to be the one to really in the middle of the field to get the ball rolling for them. So I don't think they can do it. I think they got a very good result, and it might go back to normal for Burnley after that.
Crystal Palace, Nick, can they challenge for top 6, or they're just going to be a mid-table team? And because I see their football is pretty good. I know that they are top half of the table now. They're 10th on the table, 3 points behind Wolves, who are 6th. Can they keep up with this good performances? Very progressive football they play.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's gonna my answer is gonna be kind of crap. It depends. Their side, their side, the results you really don't really know what to expect with the results specifically. And they're that side, where I mean they could come up against one of the top six or one of like the big three right now in the league, and they could get a really big result, and they'd be really great in the counterattack and look great going forward. And you'd actually see Benteke or somebody like Zaha actually looking like they have proper links and things are going well. And then other times it's the polar opposite. So I don't know, hit or miss with them, I'd say.
So they're very, very honest. They're not consistent, as you say.
Right.
They're not very
Yeah.
consistent. Cayman, I know you're a big fan of Crystal Palace just because of Patrick Vieira, but another guy. But I'm gonna stay with Nick because Aston Villa did not. I didn't think they played really well their first game, even though they won 2-0, but because it's just the last 10 minutes. Uh, Steven Gerrard with Aston Villa, Nick. Are we expecting wonders here, or is it just another Lampard?
Definitely not another Lampard. I can assure that. No,
All
there's
right.
still the debate, but I'm excited for Steven Gerrard. Just to see him back in the Prem in a different role is exciting. I think he did phenomenal with Rangers. The way he won the league with them is just quality, and it was good to see him get that foreign experience and to come back into England. I'd love to see him, obviously, in the future in a role for Liverpool, but like Jurgen Klopp said recently, his time there isn't forever, but still a good way to go. So I see Steven Gerrard staying with Villa if he can do well for a while, and he could have a really good project on his hands.
Cayman, Wolves won against West Ham. You remember that a lot of people picked Wolves to go down in the beginning of the season. They are 1 point behind Arsenal, 4 points
Yeah.
behind West Ham. They are if you've watched the game, Wolves were in control for the whole game. West Ham did not have they had a couple of chances, but they were not as dominant as yet you think from West Ham, and they were like really the second best team for the 90 minutes during the game. Do you think that this Wolves team is actually better than what we expected?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I think the managerial appointment, no one was like 100% sure if them switching from their counterattack style of football that they were playing to a more like free flowing, like actual possession based style that's like a lot more attacking, if that was going to work. And it has, you know what I mean? And they're like, they just look fantastic. And they have so many offensive threats. It's so awesome to see Jimenez just really, starting to shine. I think Neves has just been incredible. Like every time I see him on the pitch, he just dominates the midfield. It honestly, like, yeah, and to be able to go up against a team like West Ham and really challenge them, especially in the middle of the park where they have such good players, it's impressive. And to be able to deal with guys like Antonio, and they did well, and you have to like give them credit for how well they played. You know what I mean? And it's awesome to see. Maybe it'd be awesome to see if they're doing a little bit less good so that they wouldn't be pressing on our heels right now as an Arsenal supporter. But no, like they're playing like good, exciting football, and it's always like a joy to watch. So as a fan of the Premier League in general, you really can't complain.
Yeah, we have a lot of like teams now that are really good to watch, like Wolves, West Ham, Crystal Palace, even Brighton are good to watch. But there's another team that is good to watch now, and they won 2 in a row after not winning for the first 10 games, which is Norwich, who actually now climbing the table and 3 points from Leeds. Jackson, Norwich against Southampton. I think it was very crucial for Norwich to win this game, and they did it. And I thought they won convincingly. Do you think this is? We all said that Norwich is already going down. Do you think that they can stay in this league? Do they have what it takes?
I honestly hope so, because it would make it interesting. Because for a while there, people were saying like, oh, if they're playing Norwich, it's almost an easy 3 points basically. So it'd be nice, to have that competition there. So obviously you want every game to be competitive, so that doesn't happen. Do I think that they can turn it around? I don't know. I don't think so. As after that start and watching them, it was really tough. They're barely scoring any goals. Um, to be able to stay in the league after a start like that, I think that's a really big ask. I hope to be proved wrong, but I don't think. I think they'll be going down still.
Nick, we're gonna go to next week. Chelsea, Man United. What is gonna happen, and who's gonna do? Is it gonna be another thrashing? To be honest, with Man United.
I hope not. I really hope not. Now that Ole is gone, I think I need United to step it up a bit in results against a team like Chelsea. We need Chelsea to drop points, because one thing I wanted to say earlier about Chelsea is they are really good at keeping leads, and that will definitely apply to points on the table as well this season. But with Manchester United, will they appoint an interim manager this week, or will they make a permanent decision? That will also be a big factor on how that game goes. And will they sit in? Will they just try to play it safe against a team like Chelsea because they'll have the possession? I think that'll definitely happen. But we'll see.
I think go ahead.
Chelsea are the favorites for sure, I said as well.
So that's why I want to go to Jackson and ask him that question. I know that isn't this the best time to play Man United as a Chelsea team?
It is. Kind of like Nick said, I would almost want Ole in there, just with like all the turmoil that was going on around that. But yes, I think it is a good time to play them. But to be honest, right now, for me, Man United in their current state are just so unpredictable. Because you think, right when you start to get a read on Man U, or, they just came off a really bad loss, you're like, there's no way that's going to happen again. It's Man United. Look at the players on the field. And like I said, it's just unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if they're going to show up and be class, or they're going to completely fall apart and let in 4 or 5 goals. So it's tough. I do think that Chelsea will win, but to be honest, I'm not exactly sure how the game will play out. I think it will be a fun watch, though, for sure.
Hey, Kaeman, Man City, West Ham. This is a big task for West Ham, but I think if a team can stop outside of the Liverpool and Chelsea, if the only team that I think that can stop Man City from winning is West Ham, do you think something he can get a result out of there? And what do they need to do to get a result against City?
Play the exact way West Ham plays. They'll defend the entire game and then kill you on a counter. And I think they have the quality to do that. I think it's completely within the realms of possibility. I think if Antonio has a good game and Declan Rice and Souček can hold down the middle of the field, I think that Man City should be put away pretty tidily. But that being said, it's Man City. I personally still think they're the best team in the league, and I think their depth is pretty crazy. So all it takes is one bad injury on West Ham or one moment of lapse of judgment, and City will beat them, right? So I still think I have City as the favorites, but I think West Ham can give them a run for their money.
It's kind of crazy that we think at this moment that West Ham, who actually for the last I think last season at the end we said they can't do it again, but they're still doing it. And I think they're by a big margin the 4th best team in the league. Like there is not even nobody close to them. I know that they lost to Wolves, but they're still the 4th best team in the league without a doubt. But I think this is it for this week, and hopefully next week we'll come back with maybe some sacking, some new news, and some appointments.
Hopefully. Oh wow.
Because I want to see Everton play better. I want to see Leicester play better, because you cannot invest 100 million and then expect to come way worse than the season before. There has to be something wrong in the locker room, or something wrong with the management, or something wrong with Leicester. I do not wish anybody to get sacked, but to be honest, these teams are better than where they are right now on the table, and there has to be some changes. And if Claudio Ranieri can change Watford to beat Man United 4-1, I think anybody can change Leicester and Everton to win games again. I want to thank everybody here. I'm going to start with Kaeman. Thank you so much, my friend, for coming on.
No, always a pleasure.
Jackson, thank you so much, and good luck next week.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. It was a good time as always.
And thank you, Nick, for your debut. It was great talking to you about Liverpool.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
And thanks you for everybody. Please make sure to like this video, rate us on any audio platform you listen to this video, like the video on YouTube. And hopefully we'll see you next week in another episode. Thank you so much. And thanks for all my guests.
Thank you.